Hey, listen, you didn't intend on getting revenge. It sometimes the ball just rolls that way. It just happened for you. Oh well. Have a better life, man. Salute to you, man. Salute to you.
Revenge on ex-girlfriend. How I didn't intend to get revenge on an ex, but did. I would like to remain anonymous. What's going on, True? I've been listening to your channel for a very long time and have been debating on whether or not to share my story because it's quite long and I've been accused of making the revenge part up. There's no real way to prove that I'm not making the last part up other than try to provide as much detail as I can without giving up my identity. My story starts at the very end of my first year of high school. I started to crush on this girl that was 2 grades ahead of me. She was a bit quiet and reserved, while I was a wannabe class clown. I ended up winning her over, and she admitted that she liked me back. The first red flag that I was blind to was that she only had about 2 female friends, and the rest were male. There was one guy in particular, we'll call James, that had a massive, borderline obsessive crush on her. It wasn't a big deal at first because the school year was about to end, so we weren't going to see this guy for a while. Then the next school year started, and the drama began immediately. Of course, James absolutely hated me. He was constantly telling people he was going to whoop my ass and even said he was going to kill me one day. I expressed to her too I didn't like her hanging out with him anymore, but she pulled the stereotypical, but he's my friend excuse. The other bad thing was that because he was in her friend group, they were constantly trying to convince her to break up with me and date him instead. After a while, she started to become extremely distant. I specifically remember one day in which we were supposed to go to the movies, but she stood me up. She eventually broke up with me and admitted that the day she stood me up was because she went to the movies with James. A few months went by and she started to send feelers out to my friends to try to talk to me again. Of course, I was a stupid high school kid, so I spoke with her and she cried and apologized. After scolding her for a little bit, we eventually got back together. After we got back together, she admitted to me that during the time we were broken up, she and James tried dating, but it didn't work out because he was too immature. The rest of the year went by drama free. Then the problem started again as soon as she graduated. She broke up with me because she wanted to focus on going to college and did not want to worry about having a boyfriend who was still in high school. A few months went by again, and once again she sent feelers to my friends to try to get a hold of me. She again apologized and cried, asking to see if we could get back together. Like the idiot that I was, I took her back again, but this time we only stayed together for about a month. She again started acting realty distant and not talking to me for days, avoiding hanging out, and generally having a bad attitude. She then broke up with me for the last time. Some time went by, and I ended up finding out that she and James were officially dating. The part that really pissed me off was that the two of them started to visit my high school every single week just to walk around, holding hands with the intention of me seeing them. These were college-age people who attended college hours away, making the drive to my city just to rub their new relationship in my face. Of course, it bothered me, but the years went by and I eventually gradated as well. This is the part where it's going to seem like I'm making it up, but I promise I'm not. I ended up going to a small local college in my city because I couldn't afford anything else. After a few years of attending that college, I randomly ran into my ex in a hallway. I called out her name, and she started acting all nervous and fidgety, telling me that James might see us. I asked her why she was no longer at her other college, and she stated that it was because she had some health problems and wanted to attend school close to home in case of an emergency. I also asked her if he also attended the school, but she said that he did not and would only pick her up and drop her off certain days. I started running into her at the same hallway about twice a week, and we slowly started having conversations. She confided in me that she and James were broken up at the moment, but we're working on fixing things and getting back together. One day I invited her out to lunch and she accepted. Then she vented even more and told me that even though she and James dated for way longer than she and I ever did, he could never get over the fact that she originally chose me over him. She stated that they were constantly arguing over that amongst other disagreements. She even said that thing got physical on her end, and he even hit her back once. At this point in my life, I had absolutely no interest in her. I was currently trying to talk to a girl that I liked in one of my classes, so I had no romantic intentions with my ex other than hanging out. One day I gave her a ride home, but we stopped at my apartment first and we watched some TV. Well, one thing led to another and we ended up sleeping together. Yes, I know. I want to say she was so awkward about it. If anyone has ever watched the movie No Strings Attached, there's a scene in which Ashton Kutcher's character is making out with his assistant, and she keeps saying, "Oh my God, this is happening," over and over. Well, it was kind of like that. I honestly meant nothing to me, but it must have to her because she told me that she completely ended things with James shortly after that. I won't lie, it was very satisfying for me to see the text messages he would send her cursing her out after he saw that she and I became friends on social media. At this point, I decided to get my revenge on her as well and just used her for play while I was still trying to win over the girl from my class. This went for a few weeks. My ex started becoming really clingy and was constantly trying to get me to hang out with her and walk to class together. She was constantly sending me text messages and attempting to have heart-to-heart conversations in which she would tell me that she was developing feelings for me again, and that if I didn't feel the same way, to let her know right then and there to spare her feelings. She would do this stupid, awkward pause in between her sentences, like if she was struggling to get her words out or something. I would usually avoid or change the subject. Eventually, the girl in my class agreed to start dating me, so I knew I had to end things with my ex. So, I started acting distant, avoiding her for days and having a bad attitude just like she had done to me. One day, she ran into me in the hallway and started walking next to me to get my attention, but I just acted like she wasn't there and kept walking. That afternoon, she sent me this novel of a text message basically stating that she was tired of me playing with her feelings and that she was done. I remember I text back, "So you're not going to talk to me anymore?" And she said, "Do you really think I would stick around after the way you've treated me?" To which I said, "I'm just surprised you finally got the hint." To which she never responded. After that, I never spoke with her again. I would see her in the hallway or the parking lot sometimes, but she would avoid looking at me. And that was that. How I didn't mean to originally get revenge, but I did. If any high school kids, particularly male, are listening to this and are dating or thinking of dating an older girl, I would say it's not worth it because there's so much drama that you can give yourself when you can just focus on girls your age. Hope you guys enjoyed the story. Let's see another subscriber email. Trust your gut. Dear True Story, first off, I want to thank you so much for what you do and the good work you are doing for men by posting the true stories. Lots of men have been empowered to steer their lives and destinies towards happiness by the information provided on this page. I have a story that goes way back to the 1980, back before PCs and cell phones. In 1983, when I was in high school, I was a big clumsy bear of a kid, very socially awkward and unsure of myself. I was decent at football, but where I shined was singing in concert choir. God gifted me with a rich baritone voice and a talent for singing, and I was able to get the lead in all the musicals my concert choir class put on for the last 3 years of high school. As I matured, played sports, and got slimmer and more muscular, I began to attract the attention of girls with my deep voice and newly found confidence. One day near the end of my sophomore year, a senior girl, we'll call her Kay, came and asked me to attend the senior prom with her. I was elated. She was attractive and had a funny, gregarious personality. She was very popular and was also the student body president. I was a bit starstruck, so of course I said yes. The prom was amazing, and I kissed her for the first time. After that, we dated off and on. We were never steady or serious, but we had a lot of fun hanging out. She later graduated and went on to college that year. In the 2 years that followed, she would call me whenever she was in town visiting her folks, and we would get together and hang out, and sometimes make out with her. Like I said, she was fun, and even though we did not have sex, I enjoyed just hanging out with her. I want to mention that I was indeed sexual as a teenager. I had a couple of girlfriends with whom I had sexual relations, but Kay and I never did go all the way. At the time, I never could reason to myself why I never did it with her. It wasn't like she was rejecting me. She was always coming on to me. I know that if I had asked her for sex, she would have slept with me willingly, no questions asked. But something deep inside me was telling me, no, don't do it. I didn't know what that voice was, but I listened to it. That voice had never steered me away from sleeping with other girls. Only her. Later, after I graduated, I ended up attending the same state university she was attending. One day, during my first semester, I was standing in the main square talking to some people when someone tapped me on the shoulder. I turned around and it was Kay. I had not seen her for a long time, and it was good to see a friendly face from my hometown, so we ended up hanging out a lot after that. Again, we never went steady or got serious. She would flirt with me, hold hands, and make out with me whenever we were together, but again, it never went farther. As I hung out with her more, I began to notice that she had a wild streak. One night, I was at her dorm, hanging with her and her roommates, when she got a call from some random guy asking her to come meet him. Apparently, this was one guy from across town who she didn't know and had only met a couple of days before. Her roommates very smartly told her not to go meet this guy because she barely knew him and knew nothing about the part of town he was in, and they were all looking at me to say something to her. Since she and I were not going steady, I said, well, she doesn't belong to me. I'm not going to keep her from doing what she wants to do. She sort of got pissed at me when I said that, and she grabbed her purse and jacket and stormed out. I just shook my head and left. Things were a bit frosty between her and I after that. I wasn't really hurt because we weren't going steady, and I knew she dated other guys. I was dating other chicks myself. As her friend, I was more angry that she would go meet some guy she didn't know at some place where she had no backup. It was a very reckless thing to do. This was the first really foolish thing she did that cemented in my mind that I should not be anything more than casual friends with her. The next semester came along and we were back to being friends again. Again, nothing changed really. We hung out, went out to movies, and did stuff together, and still, our relationship never went fully physical. I always kept her at a bit of a distance. I guess just waiting to see what kind of reckless thing she did next. Well, that came soon. At mid-semester, she and her roommates threw a party. I got to the party late, and by the time I arrived, she was crap-faced drunk. Well, I said hi to her, but she was so wasted I don't even think she knew it was me. As I was loading up my plate with party food, I glanced over and saw her talking to a couple guys on the other side of the room. She was obviously flirting with them. Then she did something that I just couldn't believe. She and the two guys went into her bedroom, and I heard her lock the door. I was pissed. Even though she and I were not going steady, she had made it clear to me when she invited me to the party that I was to be her date for that night. And here she was, obviously going in for a threesome with these two dudes who she hardly knew. I threw my food in the trash, and on my way out of the place, one of her roommates stopped me and apologized to me for her rude and hurtful behavior. I told her I was done with Kay risking her health and safety and that I wasn't playing her games anymore. Anyways, I never hung out with Kay again, nor did I ever speak to her. I got a letter from her a couple weeks later telling me how sorry she was for acting so stupid and hurting me, but I never responded. I was mad, but not really hurt or brokenhearted. Again, there was some voice deep inside telling me to just leave her be and never contact her again. That little voice kept me from giving my heart to her, and boy was I glad that I listened. After my sophomore year, I ended up transferring to another university, and I never saw Kay again. I would occasionally see her sister or run into her mom whenever I was visiting my hometown, and they would update me on what Kay was doing, but I didn't care much. I had moved on, gotten my degree, and had gotten married to my wife, a good woman to whom I am still married to after 3 decades. Sadly, in 1995, I heard through the grapevine that Kay had died from complications of diabetes. Well, that was the story that was told initially. I felt bad for her and her family, and I grieved her death as one would grieve the death of an old friend. But I moved on. However, years later, around 2002 or so, I ran into Kay's sister again, and she gave me the true story. Kay had actually died from AIDS. Apparently, sometime around the end of her senior year at the university, she had contracted HIV from one of her sexual partners. And despite heavy treatment, that HIV turned into full-blown AIDS, and she passed away from AIDS-related renal failure. Talk about dodging a bullet. Had I given in and had sex with her, I could have very well been infected with HIV. But that voice in my head was persistent, and luckily, I listened to it. My lesson is this: guys, when you hear that little voice inside your head telling you to beware of what a girl is doing, listen to that voice. Some people call it intuition. Some call it the gut. Well, whatever you call it, don't ignore it. I really think God put that intuition in all us men to know when something wrong is going on with the woman we are with, or to let us know when she is pulling a fast one on us, sneaking around on us, or trying to lead us to some kind of destructive end. Always put your own interests first and make you your biggest priority in life. If you do that, everything else will follow in kind. Thank you, TSN. I hope this story helps someone. Yours truly, a Copper City boy. Let's see another subscriber email. Life is a minefield. So, before I go off on my little diatribe, let me make this clear. I wanted to share my insights into online dating. Being 58 and twice divorced, I have had my share of experience in this area. Mind you, that these are just my opinions based on my own observations and experience. And if I offend anyone, that is not my intention. And this is not directed at any one person. If it seems that way, it is purely a coincidence. But then again, if the shoe fits, LOL. Still, it is my opinion and nothing more. Edit out any obscenities, please. Thank you. Social media has taken off, and it has been the source of many divorces, as it makes it so easy to cheat on your spouse. Be it Match, POF, Meet Me, People Meet, Classmates, Tinder, etc., and even the good old-fashioned local club. They have all basically become a meat market of sorts. I have noticed that most, but not all women and men fall into a certain category. So here goes. The scammer. The scammer may or may not actually be a woman. She/he usually operates out of Africa or Russia. It's all about money. Some even claim to be in the US and have some sob story to get you to send them money. To them, a measly few $100s is years' work and wages in their country. So if they email 20 guys in the US and only one is dumb enough to wire them money, they can retire for a year. I have firsthand experience with that type. They always claim to be one state over from you. Convenient because you can't meet them to verify they are real. Send me money and I will come to visit you. That is their SOP. Some even claim to be in the U.S. military overseas. The gold digger. She wants a sugar daddy, plain and simple. She is usually unemployed and may still live with mommy or other family. If you don't own a yacht and make six figures, she will not give you the time of day. Usually, she is a young woman. She will use her body to get you, and once she has your ring on her finger, she will quit her job if she even has one. Then, after getting bored with you, she will use said social media to find excitement with a younger guy. Once caught with the bad boy doing the nasty in your home, she will take you for everything you own. Baby needs daddy. This type has anywhere from 1 to several kids. She had sex with some losers, and their baby daddies bailed out and will never pay child support and usually get paid under the table. And most of the time, this woman is not even sure who the daddy is. So, she looks for an older, more mature guy who is financially stable to take care of her and her precious angels. Like the gold digger, eventually she will get bored since her new provider is always working hard to support her and her kids, and at work most of the time. She will revert to looking for the usual trailer trash bad boy for sex, since this is what floats her boat. This type usually posts something like, "My children are my world." Now that sounds admirable and perfectly normal, but what this really means is that you are #2, #3, or even down to the last name on her list of priorities. The bad boy she is screwing while you are at work is ranked way above you. And most of the time, he is an ex-husband or ex-F buddy. So, enjoy your sociopathic bad boy, the abusive relationship, and welfare housing. You chose it. The nut job. This woman is divorced by her husband for good reason. She is usually a narcissist and is bipolar. In other words, she is batshit crazy. But you won't find out about it until it's too late. Best way to recognize her is by her past history and past failed relationships. This is why you ask questions like, "So did you divorce him or him you?" Or, "So what caused the breakup?" Sadly, Mrs. Nutjob doesn't really show her true colors until much later. That is why I think people should date for at least a year before getting serious. An easy way to recognize this type is she will get on a dating site and post something stupid like, "Accept me as I am." That is a dead giveaway and a clear warning from her. To these types, dating sites are like porno for the personality disordered, the attention whore. The attention whore is easy to spot. She needs constant validation from men to feel good about herself. Some even need constant sex from men to feel like they have value. Truth be told, they don't really value themselves at all, and they have no self-respect. They are usually on their smartphones 24/7 getting texts and calls and admiration from her guy friends via social media, and all these guys want is to get into her pants. She is easy to spot as this type will even text while you take her out to dinner. But do whatever feels good, GF. You go, girl. Be warned that if you hitch up with one of these girls, the endless stream of texts and phone calls from her ex-F buddies will continue. And most likely, one or more of these guys will be doing your wife while you are away. After all, the poor girls is all alone and needs some attention. LOL. The 304. As ironic as this may sound, I actually almost respect the slut. Most of us men are man 304, so who are we to judge, right? At least she knows what she wants, and she will even tell you this and be upfront about it. Doesn't mean I want a relationship with her beyond sex, and having one with her would end in inevitable disaster. Ask me how I know. Be warned, though, that not all sluts are honest. The ones with alter motives will lie to your face without even blinking and smile about it. You won't know she is a slut until it's too late. The escort. C. The 304 inches above. At least the girl is trying to make an honest living. No judgment from me. The only thing I don't like about them is that some will go on a dating site and pose as a single woman online, looking for a good time. Usually in her 20s and sweet talking a middle-aged guy because she thinks all of us older guys are rich. Elo Badwell. Wish I had $1 for everyone that sent me a message on Kik or Tinder. I would something like $50 now. The mail order bride. I don't even have to explain this one. They usually come out of Russia or Asia. Nothing inherently wrong with the mail order bride, but what I don't like about them is that many of them fall in the category of scammers because they are at first dishonest about their true intentions while they post on dating sites. And some only want U.S. citizenship. The he-she. I don't need to explain this one at all. Self-explanatory. Luckily, I have never run into one, but I have heard stories, and well, you really have no clue who is on the other side of the keyboard, right? We all have our own level of freaky, but this one is right up there in the stratosphere. Whatever floats your boat, I guess, LOL. The princess. This type wants a guy that looks like Brad Pitt, even though she is overweight and unemployed. She has unrealistic expectations. She is entitled and lives in a movie. They usually post something like, I want a real man on dating sites, and by real man, they mean one that does not exist in the real world. Hearts, rainbows, and unicorns, anyone? The man hater. They hate men. They are usually lesbians and feminists. They get on dating sites simply to bait you into an argument, and then they will insult you. How dare you ask me for a date on a dating site? Oh, the humanity, you pervert. The family girl. The family girl is not really a bad person. She loves her kids, her siblings, parents, extended family, etc., etc. The problem with some of them is that their entire family, extended family, and even her dog, Wark Cujo, and Kitty Fluffy, are above you on her list of priorities if you decided to have a relationship with her. You will always come last. And if you dare to ask for a little bit of us time and ask her to tell her family that this weekend is our time, she will think an ash hat. Eventually, this kind of relationship will fizzle and end. You can spot this girl online saying something like, my family is important to me, as if this was ever even in question. And if she had to inform you of this obvious fact, don't walk, run, fast. You should never have to fight for space in somebody's life. If they really want you in there, they will make room and time for you. If they don't, then you have your answer. Next, the Bible thumper. I respect religious women. Most have good, strong moral values and are faithful. With that said, many of them make a point of posting, God comes first in my life. Sounds good and understandable. The problem is that this should be a given and doesn't need to be posted publicly. Sadly, usually this means that you will be regulated to a religious fashion accessory rather than a real husband. And God help you if you have differing opinions or values than hers. Plan on taking plenty of cold showers because you will be in for a dry spell. The rich widow. If you find one, feel free to give her my email address and phone number, please. LOL. OMG, I guess that makes me a gold digger. With that said, if she had 5 husbands before you, then you have to wonder how they accidentally died. Don't walk away, run! And if she chases after you, run faster. Last chance, Lucy. An older woman who has had it tough in life. Either she screwed up her past marriages or her ex screwed her over and left her in their golden years. This is the kind of woman I am looking for in a way because I am her male counterpart. We are not getting any younger and we seek love, sex, and companionship. We plan and hope to have that one last love in our lives to make our golden years polished and complete. Nothing wrong with that. Unless she is the type that simply gave away her body in her younger years to losers and is now expecting some good guy to rescue her used up and screwed up self later in life. The flake. The flake is a woman who leads you on and then completely forgets about you. She never returns calls or texts, and just when you think she lost interest, she contacts you again. What she is telling you by her behavior is that you are a low priority to her, and you should be there only at her convenience. Chances good that she is either dating or screwing multiple men at the same time, or she is lying about her single status and is married or has a boyfriend. The soldier's wife. Simply put, she is the lowest form of life on earth. While her husband is serving his country and protecting her and his family overseas, she is spending his money and screwing every guy she wants, just out of pure selfishness or because she gets off on cheating. They have a special place in hell for skanks like this. Now, if I missed one, let me know so I can add it to my list. I am retired, so I have plenty of time to write crazy stuff like this, LOL. So, we are all flawed human beings. I put this up here to help guys with online dating and for the most part to give people something to read and laugh about. If we can't laugh at ourselves, then we are in trouble, IMHO. It's good to learn from your mistakes, but better to learn from others and not make that mistake yourself, I think. Feel the love.